Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Sunday service. And I'm sure many people who helped Bazaar still tired from Bazaar. But yeah, thank you all for your help. And because of your help, we could have a successful Bazaar. And cleanup was amazing. I remember last year I was complaining about how few people came for cleanup. But this year we had a lot of people came to help clean up. So I think we finished cleaning up, I think within a day. So after Sunday, it was all clean and it was really amazing to see. Yeah, thank you very much for your help. So the reason I'm having Dharma, questions and responses today is that one thing, I don't have to worry about preparing Dharma talk. And second, when I was in Northwest Oregon Buddhist Temple in Portland, Oregon, they had a Dharma exchange after the service, after a regular service, every Sunday. So Dharma exchange is not led by minister, but led by those lay people or somebody. Then one topic, they decide one topic and discuss about it or talk about it. So that's one thing we did, and I thought, oh yeah, maybe we should bring in the Dharma exchange to Sacramento Betsin one day, while everybody, the Dharma school is going on. Adults can have like adult Dharma school kind of Dharma exchange classes. So I thought that's one way. But questions and responses could be one possibility too. So today I asked many of you to participate or submit the questions online. By the help of Sandy, I was able to put the form online. So I have more than 20 questions. So I don't think I can respond to all of them today, but I picked few questions today to talk about it, and hopefully I will have another time to talk about another questions. So first question, I picked this one, so I thought this is probably interesting for you too. What language is the chant that we recite during service? Right? So just now, we finished the chanting, Juseige. Juseige. So as many of you know, Buddhism started in India. And the texts were written in Sanskrit or Pali. Sanskrit or Pali. Or maybe another languages too, but one which is left is Sanskrit and Pali. Then Buddhism came into China around 1st century. And the text was translated into Chinese. Then Chinese text came into Japan around 6th century. And our school, Jodo Shinshu, originates in Japan. Our head temple is Nishi Honganji in Kyoto. And we still use the text which are translated into Chinese from Sanskrit. So we don't chant Sanskrit, but we are chanting something written in Chinese. But Japanese people pronounce kanji character in different way as Chinese people do. So we are reading Chinese, but we are pronouncing it in Japanese way. That's confusing, right? So I still remember when I was in Portland, Oregon, one of the Vietnamese monk, Vietnamese Pure Land Buddhist monk came to visit Oregon Buddhist Temple, and he asked me to chant one of the sutras we chant. So I decided to chant Amida Sutra. Then after chanting a few lines, I stopped and he said, "Oh, I recognize the sutra." And then he started to recite in his way. And then it sounded, I couldn't tell if it was a Mandarin or a Cantonese or a Vietnamese, because I don't have the ear to listen to these three different languages. But he was saying that we are reading the same Chinese characters or same kanji characters, but we are pronouncing it in different ways. So we are sharing same sutra, but we are pronouncing it in a different way. So to answer this question, we are chanting Chinese in Japanese sound. So next question. I thought this is interesting too. How do we offer rice to Buddha? If you have a home altar, obutsudan, home altar, we make rice offering to the Buddha. So the question specifically was about how much rice is appropriate. That's a really difficult question, right? And how long it should be on the altar, and so on. So actually, there are no certain rules about how much is appropriate. If we go to our head temple in Kyoto, Nishihonganji, you see gigantic rice offering, like this tall, right? I don't think we can make it at our home, right? But one rule, we offer freshly steamed rice. It could be brown rice, if you only have brown rice, or any kind of rice. It could be Japanese rice, Chinese rice, or Vietnamese rice, or Thai rice, or any type of rice. And when I was growing up, my family offered freshly made rice to the Buddha every morning. We chant sutra, and after the service, we took it down from the altar, put it in the chawan, the rice bowl, and then ate it. So most of the time, rice tasted like incense, because we burn incense, right? And then the incense, fragrance of the incense is soaked into rice. So the rice tasted like incense. But according to the guideline, we take off the rice around noon, around noon. But, it's okay. This is just a guideline. So as long as you don't have rice offering for a week or so, that's okay, right? Anytime you want to take it off, please, pay respect to Buddha and take it off from the altar. And then the person who asked the question said, if candy is okay if we cannot find the rice. Yeah, if candy is okay. I would say, that's fine. I think important thing of offering is the mind of respect and appreciation, So, as long as you are not putting a garbage or anything, I think that's good, right? Okay, then this was a little bit difficult question, but what the Buddha would deal with overwhelm. So the person specifically asked what Buddha would do seeing the homelessness, wars and conflicts in the world, and so forth. What do you think? What Buddha would do? Nothing. That's really deep question. Response. So, do you know who's the founder of our sect, Jodo Shinshu? Shinran Shogin. So Shinran Shogin is the founder of our tradition, Jodo Shinshu. And in his Kyogyo Shinsho, he discussed why Amida Buddha established the threefold mind of sincere mind, entrusting heart, and aspiration for birth. And then Shinran Shogin said, Buddha's intention is difficult to fathom. Nevertheless, reflecting on this threefold mind for myself alone, and then he started to explain about his understanding. So I think this is the attitude of the Buddhist. We cannot say that, oh yeah, Buddha is gonna do this, But Buddhist attitude is to say that, I cannot imagine the Buddha's intention, because Buddha's intention is too deep to fathom, right? But try to understand from my viewpoint, then I think this, and we can present our way of understanding. So I believe that Buddha would do what Buddha would do. So Buddha is the one who perfected the wisdom and compassion. Wisdom and compassion. So Buddha would do anything which is beyond my imagination, beyond my imagination. But if Buddha saw homelessness or homeless people, probably Buddha would go to the homeless people and talk to them and, ask them what they need. If it is about wars and conflicts, Buddha taught in one of the sutras, hate never dispels hate. Only non-hate dispels the hate. And also he talked about how everybody fears violence. So we should not use any types of violence to hurt other lives. So, these things could be, maybe Buddha is gonna use this kind of understanding to help people. But again, Buddha's intention is too deep to fathom. So I cannot say Buddha would do this, but I just present him my understanding of, my imagination of what Buddha would do. So next, this one was a tough question too. What are the greatest challenges facing Jodo Shinshu Buddhists in 2024 and beyond, and how would you face them? Greatest challenges, from the temple business viewpoint, we need more membership, right? And that's everywhere. Every temple, every Jodo Shinshu temple, this is the greatest challenge, I'm sure. But I will respond to this question from the aspect of teaching and aspect of the application or the practice. So from the aspect of teaching, one of the greatest challenge as the minister, I feel that we have a lot of great books written in Japanese regarding Jodo Shinshu teachings, but none of them are translated into English yet. Thinking about how Buddhism came into China and flourished in China, it took over 100 years for Buddhism to flourish in China. When Buddhism came into China, not many people were good at translating it into Chinese. They used the Chinese philosophy to translate Buddhist text into Chinese. But Buddhist idea and Chinese idea is not always the same, right? So some translation made Chinese people confusing. But after the 100 years, some brilliant translator appeared. So, they started to create really good translation of Sanskrit text into Chinese. But it took about 100 years. Do you know when this temple was established? 125 years ago. So it is about a time the brilliant translator appeared to translate Japanese text into English. Maybe it could be Reverend Matt, right? Or it could be me, I don't know. But, I really think that this is the greatest challenge that we need good translation, good English translation of great Japanese Jodo Shinshu text into English. And this is from the aspect of teaching. And then from the perspective of practice or application, Jodo Shinshu had been the teaching for the self, we talk about entrusting heart or shinjin, and we talk about nembutsu. It is not about others, we are not judging others, or we are not talking about other people. but it is the teaching for the self. So oftentimes, Joro Shinshu was criticized. We lack the sociality or social aspect of it. So based on what teaching of Joro Shinshu, we act towards the social issues. That will be the greatest challenges from the perspective of the application or the practice. Yeah, right? So, what I feel is that to act for the issues in society is the act of human beings. Social issues is the problem of all the human beings, not only the Buddhist, right? So it doesn't matter how we act. We could be Buddhist, we could be Christian, we could be Jewish or Muslim, or any other religions followers to act for the social issues. But if we need any authoritative passage from the teachers in the past, then I would say that Honen Shonin is the teacher of Shinran Shonin. He said that live the way which makes you easy to say the Nembutsu. Live the way which makes you easy to say the Nembutsu. This might not be a good translation, but in one of the letters to his followers, Honen Shonin said, if you think you can say Nembutsu easily by getting married, then get married. If you think that being single makes you easy to say the Nembutsu, then don't get married. And then if you think staying in one place makes you easy to say the Nembutsu, then stay in one place. And if you like to move around, then do it. So that's what Honen Shonin was saying. So, I know there are kind of need for some people asking that Joro Shinshu Temple needs to be more active in the social issues and such. Yeah, if you want to do it, that's fine. That's fine. But there is no authoritative passage or any writings in Joro Shinshu we can force everybody to do something. So if you like to do it, please do. And if that makes you easy to say the Nembutsu, please do. That's my response, regarding these social issues. And, this is how I understand or how I think regarding this question. And I'm sure everybody have different, understanding. So please share with me one of these days if you have any, ideas regarding the greatest challenges of the Joro Shinshu. And this person actually had like 3 or 4 questions. And then one of the questions I used for the newsletter article for next month. So please read it. It was about the practice of Joro Shinshu. And I tried to write it for the newsletter article. So please read it. So next one. Mahayana against or vs. Theravada. So I don't know he or she or they, the person was asking the question, my take on Mahayana and Theravada. So do you know what Mahayana means? How many of you know? Yeah, some people say so also, right? So Mahayana and Theravada are the 2 main streams of the Buddhism, 2 main streams of the Buddhism. And most of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Japanese Buddhists are Mahayana Buddhists. And most of Sri Lankan and Southeast Asian Buddhists, they are Theravada Buddhists. Then Mahayana means great vehicle, great vehicle. And the main goal of Mahayana Buddhism is awakening of the self and the others. So, just like the great ship carries many people at one time to the destination, the teaching of Mahayana Buddhism carries all beings to the destination, of the realm of enlightenment together. So it's not, even though I say Joro Shinshu is the teaching for the self, it is the teaching of everybody traveling together. So we are the fellow travelers of the path, and we travel to the realm of enlightenment together. And that is the spirit of Mahayana Buddhism. And Theravada means the teaching of the elders, teaching of the elders. And this is a traditional stream of, Buddhism, who keeps the precepts and lives in the monastery and go for begging for life. So the monks are allowed to keep 3 robes, only 3 robes, and 1 bowl for begging. That is the life of Theravada monk. Compared to my life, they have more, amazing way of life. I'm too greedy, right? I have, behind the shrine, we were talking about, oh, Sensei, you have a beautiful kesa today. But I have like so many of these, right? Not only 3, but I have a lot of this. So when I think, or when I talk about the differences of the Buddhist schools or the streams, I always say that, it is like comparing the medicines. Does it make sense? So I always emphasize the importance, which teachings fits me the most, which teaching fit me the most, and it is not about what is the best teaching among the teaching, but which teaching fits you the most. That is the most important thing. So if you have headache and take medicine for stomach ache, it doesn't work, right? So you need to know what symptoms you have, or what symptoms I have. So the Buddha is the doctor, or Buddha is the teacher who teaches us what symptoms we have. And in Joro Shinshu, we understand that I have the symptoms of not getting rid of 3 poisons, such as greed, anger, and ignorance. Right? So according to the Buddha, only way for me, or only path for me is Nembutsu path, or the path of Amida Buddha. So I just follow this path in accord with the guidance of the Buddha. And, you don't criticize other medicines over other medicines, right? Even though you feel like Tylenol over something else, you don't say like, oh, that medicine is not really good, right? But it's same thing. All the Buddhist schools, we have so many Buddhist schools, but it's not about who's the best, right? As I mentioned earlier, it's about what teaching fits you the most. That is most important thing. That is why we emphasize importance of listening to the teaching. Okay, so let me respond to 2 more questions. And as I mentioned, I received like 20 questions, so I don't think I can respond to all of them today, or unless you want to stay until afternoon, right? So original plan for the August was not having the service after the bazaar, right? So we were thinking about not having the service for August 18th and 25th, but we decided to have it. So today we are doing Q&R, and since we didn't have any plan for next week, let's do Q&R next week too, so that I can continue to respond other questions. And I was talking with Sandy the other day, but maybe better make this Q&R once a month thing, so that everybody, if you have questions today, write it down, put it in the box, or just give it to me, or give it to Reverend Matt, or Calvin, or Grace. Then we can try to come up with the answer or response to the question. Okay, so let's do this once a month. Do you like it having the Hondo? You think so? We can go social hall, or we can go classroom, right? And then have coffee and donut at the same time. That's good too, right? But anyway, so one of the question was really into Joro Shinshu teaching, so I'm not responding it to today, but maybe next week. But second to the last question is Buddhism religion or philosophy? And do we worship Buddhas? This is often asked questions, many times the person have a strong opinion already, saying that, oh, Buddhism is just a philosophy, it's not religion, But Buddhism is about the path of middle path, right? Middle path. So I would say that Buddhism is both religion and philosophy. Both religion and philosophy. If we focus on the teaching of the, primal vow of Amida Buddha and entrusting heart and Nembutsu and such, then Buddhism can be understood as religion, right? Because it's about how we entrust ourselves to the working of Amida Buddha. But if we focus on the teaching, like Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Noble Path, it can be the philosophy, right? So Buddhism is both religion and philosophy. And also, since the Buddhism is about leaving the self-centered ideas, attaching to one-sided idea and argue about it is not the attitude of Buddhist. So since we are Buddhist, we of course have a strong opinion about this probably, but please leave the self-centered ideas or self-centered judgments and be kind and have the mind of acceptance regarding other opinions too. Then, do we worship Buddhas? Do we worship Buddhas? Since we are Buddhist, I think we of course worship Buddha, right? But how we define the word worship, right? And according to the dictionary, the worship means to pay respect, to pay respect. If we don't pay respect to Buddha, how can we Buddhist? How can we be Buddhist? So I think if we understand the word worship as paying respect, then we do worship Buddha. We do worship Buddha. But if we think worship as praying or something, then we do not pray to Buddha. That's not good, right? So we don't pray to Buddha because praying is something we ask to Buddha. But our way of understanding is the other way around. Buddha is already working for us. Buddha is already working for us. So we are not asking Buddha for anything, but Buddha is already working for us. So it is about recognizing or realizing the working of the Buddha in our daily life, and we put our hands together to appreciate the working of the Buddha. So last question before lunch. What is the meaning of itadakimasu? Yeah, that was the question, a really cute question. So, itadakimasu, right? Itadakimasu. This is a Japanese word before meal. Japanese word before meal. Starting from masu, M-A-S-U, masu, is an auxiliary verb which connects or which comes after a verb, and it makes the expression polite. Itadaki is a continuative form of a verb, itadaku. So itadaku means to receive or accept. And a polite way of saying morau. Morau is another Japanese word meaning receive or accept. But morau is more casual, but itadaku is really polite. So itadakimasu is really polite way of saying I am going to receive or I am going to accept. Then what are we receiving or what we are accepting? So if we just explain the meaning of the word itadakimasu, there is no Buddhist essence to it. But if we see or if we think about the background of what we are receiving or what we are accepting, then itadakimasu has a lot of Buddhist, ideas or concept in it. So to grow vegetables, for instance, right? To grow vegetables, what we need? Soil, water, sun, seeds, yeah. What was it? Farmers, yeah. Cultivation, yeah. Oxygen too, right? So many things, right? So many things. When I was in Portland, Oregon, I had vegetable garden in my backyard. I grew cucumber, tomato, zucchini, eggplant, and what else? One year I tried corns. It grew like this tall. Then squirrel came. Squirrel ate all of them. So at that time, I realized how difficult to grow vegetables, right? So we have a lot of people's effort to protect the vegetables, like farmers, right? And to grow the vegetables, we need a lot of things, as you mentioned. So in one vegetable, we have a lot of causes and conditions, bringing these vegetables in front of me. So when we have vegetable plates in front of us, there are many efforts and sacrifices in one plate, right? We are accepting these kind of efforts and sacrifices. That is why we say itadaku, polite way of saying morau, accepting, receiving. We are receiving so many efforts and sacrifices of the lives. So we receive it with appreciation and gratitude. This is the meaning of itadakimasu. So itadakimasu is not just eat, right? Itadakimasu doesn't mean just eat. Itadakimasu is to receive the noble life which sacrificed themselves to be part of our life and sustain our lives. So that is why we say itadakimasu. And we often say itadakimasu and we forget about gochitsou-sama deshita, but maybe I can talk about it next time. But gochitsou-sama deshita meaning, it was a fantastic feast. So thank you very much for your efforts and, things. So that's all I have for today's questions and answers, or responses. But if you have any questions, please write it down and give it to those who's wearing robes, or any board members might take it and they can give it to us too. But anyway, so today